When we think about a greener future, cities are not the first thing that comes to mind. However, humans, for the most part, live in them. According to the United Nations, in 2050, up to 68% of the world's population will live in cities. How can we rethink our urban environments to become greener and cleaner places to live? If we dreamt a little, Quebec City could become a leader in creating the city of the future. In 2050, what could Quebec City look like? Little by little, Quebec City residents have been growing fruits, vegetables, and herbs in any available space. Urban agriculture is no longer a marginal phenomenon. It's a movement. Everywhere you look, people are using their balconies, rooftops, and yards to grow fruits and vegetables. More and more initiatives are emerging in every corner of the city, on small and large scales, for private and collective consumption. A recent survey conducted by Dalhousie University showed that 47% of all Quebecers have grown some kind of vegetable in the spring or summer of 2020. Another study conducted in the Greater Montreal area found that families using a 25 square meter garden harvest, on average, 80 kilograms per year. That's almost 40% of the annual average household consumption. Not to mention that gardening is a good way to exercise and increase your intake of vitamin D. Gardening saves money, increases health, and happiness. That's why Quebec City has just adopted an ambitious plan to promote urban agriculture. The city wants to promote citizen and commercial agricultural projects, as well as increase the number of farmers markets to improve access to local produce. Putting people back in touch with gardening is part of the mission of the community organization Crac Bitume. I met with Claude Labonté, project manager for the communal garden des Ateliers à la Terre, located on the grounds of Quebec Public Health Offices, right beside the Félix Leclerc Highway. Claude, can you tell us a little bit about the space that we're in?
Yeah, basically this is Les Ateliers à la Terre. It is a big collective gardening. This is a garden for about 50 to 70 people.
Everything is communal. There you sign up and people come and learn how to garden.
Yes, you sign up. And then when you have accumulated enough hour of job, you can grab a basket of fruit and vegetable for yourself.
In the past 2 generations, we have massively urbanized. A lot of my family were farmers and a lot of our grandparents, they were basically self-sufficient. What have we lost in industrialization and moving to cities? Why is it important to reconnect with agriculture?
Back in those days, we know where the vegetables were coming from, where our food were coming from. I think this knowledge is not lost, but almost forgotten, I think.
How can we access people who don't know about the wonders of gardening? How do we engage them in gardening?
Yeah, I think the easier way will be to have a course in a public school, but I don't think it will happen. But yeah, still there are other organizations that can teach people how to do this stuff, like Crac Bitume does, or like other non-profit organization can do.
What are some of your education projects?
We have 2 types. The first type is more like a standard course, like in a school. It's about 2.5 months, once a week, and we show people how to do gardening all the way to permaculture, to canning, to doing your seedling. And then there is on the field, like in garden.
So it's the whole life cycle.
The whole life cycle of the gardening. People don't realize that just easy to grow stuff. And I think we must do it. For me, city must look like this. Every citizen can do gardening like they want to do everywhere. They can do that right in the middle of the city where there's a flower bin. We can replace them with a garden. Between streets and apartment blocks, we can just replace the grass with vegetables. On your balcony, we can do it on the roof, like with a green roof. On the standard roof with pots, we can do it everywhere. You just need to do it to start now.
So Claude, we're here on the Terre des Sœurs de la Charité, so the Sisters of Charity lands, which is very historical in Quebec City because it originally was owned by the nuns, and they used it to produce all of the food for the hospital that we just see a little bit further down there. Now the nuns have retired and they sold the land. Crac Bitume was involved in a big citizen movement to save and preserve these lands. What was the project that was going to be built here?
It would have been standard development plots like
Like we see
big
behind
apartment. Yeah, we wanted to preserve the field as it is, like to produce food. That's what the nun wanted to. They sold the land, but it needed to be still harvestable plots.
It worked. The movement worked for the citizens to save this agricultural land. So what do you have as a vision? What kind of projects could we have on this land?
Because right now the land is more mechanical agricultural plot, so there's a lot of big machinery that's going on around here. But we have a lot of movement of agricultural that's bio-intensive, and it requires a lot less mechanical, a lot more hands hard work. Instead of one crop around all around the field, there's a lot more crop. There's a rotation of crop. It depends on the weather, on the period of the season. But because of this rotation, you can harvest a lot more vegetable per land. If we can take this kind of land that is fertile around the city, then we can create a lot of food for the city at local scale. So local scale, it means less pollution, less transportation. It's a lot more healthy for the people that live around it.
Thank you so much, Claude, for sharing your vision of the future, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. The lands of the Sisters of Charity have an enormous potential for feeding the residents of Quebec City. These lands, located in the middle of the city, cover an area of 200 hectares, an absolutely massive space, and it has excellent soil quality. It might be difficult to imagine its potential when you look at it now, but consider this. World-renowned organic farmer Jean-Martin Fortier and his partner Maude-Hélène Desroches founded a 1-hectare farm, Les Jardins de la Grelinette. Today, the farm provides food for more than 200 families every week. By using permaculture and an intensive organic production model, the farm generates over $250,000 per hectare in revenue while providing work for Jean-Martin, Maude-Hélène, and 2 employees. High yields with minimum technology makes the micro-farm model interesting for urban or suburban spaces. So what is the potential for the lands of the Sisters of Charity? If we divided the lands into 200 micro-farms, they could feed up to 30,000 families for part of the year, generate more than $30 million in revenue, and create hundreds of jobs. Working the land without ever leaving the city. And that is a conservative calculation based on 75% of the Jardin de la Grelinette's production. For the Quebec City community, this could be a big step towards local food security which has been called into question with the COVID-19 epidemic. Urban microfarms also offer a concrete and realistic example of short supply chains. What is a short supply chain? It's when the least amount of intermediaries intervene between the producer and the consumer. Currently, many grocery supply chains involve many intermediaries with our food grown thousands of kilometers away from our tables. In a short supply chain, food is sold directly from producer to consumer, or with only one intermediary in between, from farm to table. That's it. Short supply chains ensure better revenue for producers, fresher products for consumers, reduced transportation for the food consumed, and rapid feedback from one end of the circuit to the other. They also reconnect farmers to consumers from direct sales through farms, vegetable baskets, or local farmers markets. Moreover, it's an opportunity for grocers and restaurateurs to find local suppliers who can meet their demand for quality and seasonal products. In Quebec City, les urbains-culteurs are a perfect example of a short supply chain. The old port market has been transformed into an urban farm in the heart of the old city. With the help of volunteers, les urbains-culteurs provide produce for local food banks and homeless shelters in the city. I met with the director, Johan Giraud, at their urban vegetable farm to discuss their vision of urban agriculture for Quebec City.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of urban agriculture in the city of the future? Why do we need to invest more in urban agriculture?
Urban agriculture is a necessity. We need more rural space, more agricultural space in rural area for feeding all the population on the planet. I think we will need like 70% more agricultural areas. So we need to find other spaces. So in the city is very near the people, and I think it's the first place where we have to look to produce.
What are some cities that exist or projects that exist right now that you find really inspiring?
There is the city of Detroit. There is a lot of urban agriculture because of the crisis in 2008. So there is a lot of farms with community projects. There is also the project of soul food farms in Vancouver. There are several hectares of productions in the city, and they sell their products on local markets. In France too, there are a lot of projects in urban agriculture, like vertical farms. There are several new technologies in urban agriculture, like aquaponics, hydroponics, aeroponics. Hydroponic farms are produced in greenhouses or in buildings. So we control everything in the atmospheres. And it can be very, very intensive, so very adapted to the city. We have the example of Lufa Farms in Montreal, actually the largest rooftop greenhouses production in the world, and it's very, very efficient, particularly by using very less water. They recycle water of the rain. They also use the heat of the building, so it consumes less energy. So it's the kind of system that we want for the city of 2050. You know, use the waste in energy, in different organic matters to do fertilizers and compost, and also water, and to produce food production.
Do you think Quebec City or any city could ever become independent for food, can supply itself with food?
I think in fruit and vegetable at least it could be, if we put all our energies in it. If we use all the space that is available on the rooftops, as I said, on parking lots, or even in buildings, there is a lot of spaces that are available. So Actually, the proteins are made with animals and dairy products, but in the future, maybe it's insect farms, so it can be in the city too. For me, in 2050, is the self-sufficiency. Is that the goal? Is that the big goal that we are looking for? So at least in vegetables and fruits, and after we will see for the, the other productions.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
When we talk about urban agriculture, we mustn't forget that the end result is on our plates. Who better than Jean-Philippe Lassard, chef and owner of Buvette Scott, a renowned restaurant focusing on local produce, to tell us about the impact of sourcing locally.
We were talking with Johan a little bit earlier from Des Urbains Culteurs, and he has a farm with his wife, and they produce local restaurants with their produce. Can you tell us a little bit about why you choose local producers?
It's just completely normal for us to try and get as local and as fresh as you can in that season. The vegetables, first of all, they haven't been picked or harvested, last week or 2 weeks ago, and then brought here by whatever boat or truck. They were harvested yesterday and then delivered to us the next day, or even sometime the same day. So they're really fresh. So definitely the taste is better, and that's what we like at the restaurant here, because we can offer super good quality to our customers.
What do you see the future of restaurants? How do you think restaurants are going to be in 2050? Do you think there's a trend? Do you think this eating local trend is going to continue?
I think the eating local is definitely growing. I think the smaller type of restaurants will likely survive over really big restaurants. I think people are getting more aware of, their health, the environment, and all that. COVID has definitely brought a thing about eating local and consuming local products, I think.
What type of sort of education do you think we need to give the population in general on this concept of you can't eat local during the winter, you can't eat local all the time because it's your choice is limited?
I guess you have to think of the old way of doing. There's no secret. Your grandparents, they used to take carrots when they were in season, can them, and then have carrots throughout the year. So I guess we sort of have to think about this as well, about the quality of the ingredients. If it's better for your health as well, but buy a lot of strawberries when they're in season and freeze them. It's still better than buying frozen strawberries from California. We have to start cooking again, and then when you cook, you want it to taste good. So then that sort of goes with it, So it makes you want to have that vegetable all year round and not just in July when it's there for 3 weeks. It takes a bit of time and it takes a bit of energy, but then I think it's a great reward at the end when you have all these cans that you made.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Jean-Philippe, for sharing your ideas about the restaurants of the future.
Thanks for having me, and you're always welcome at Buvette Scott.
Thank you.
To fully develop our potential for food autonomy, we need to act now. It takes committed citizens to come together and make changes at all levels. Where are some areas in your neighborhood that could be used for urban agriculture? Are there community gardens and urban agricultural associations in your city? If you don't have a green thumb, is there a place in your neighborhood that you could organize a weekly farmers market? Every major change in history has started with a few individuals trying to help. Planting gardens in public spaces, on balconies, on rooftops, and in yards will drastically help the greenness of a city. Making little changes now can lead to green horizons.